Hello and welcome to our podcast. My name is Natasha.
And my name's Lauren.
Join us as we discuss all things Neighbours.
And it's unfinished business.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us this week for our Valentine's episode.
Yes, Valentine's Day is just around the corner, so we thought we would give you a rundown of our top 5 couples.
I mean, I know it seems a bit harsh to be talking about our top couples when we've had, such a devastating shock at the last episodes.
Indeed it was. Did you want to start off then, Laura?
I mean, yeah, I think obviously straight away, let's not talk about that, what's kind of happened there, because there's obviously so much more other stuff that's happened prior to that and after that. Like loads of drama. So I think going back to the start of the 2 weeks, we see Mel as kind of like overdoing it a little bit with her lying. So she's lying about the fact that she's in a relationship with that Santo guy. And she's obviously trying to get Toadie and Therese off of her back. But Therese actually sees Santo with Vera and obviously realizes that or thinks that he's kind of like playing the field and tells Toadie, and Toadie actually confronts him, and Mel then obviously has to admit that she's lied. Basically she's just trying to be like, well, you told me to move on, so I'm doing my best, kind of thing. But the fact that she had to try and lie to do that in the first place is, it's not very fair.
Yeah, I mean, but also, I guess Therese also, seeing that and saying something. I guess she was trying to look out for Mel, but it's very difficult to not think that there was like motives and stuff, like wanting to hurt her or whatever, or embarrass her or humiliate her, just because of the whole situation. And obviously what transpired after that, way down the line, between Toadie and Mel.
Yeah.
So I understand that Teresa's got some concerns, and to some degree they are valid, especially the second week rather than the first week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll obviously as we'll talk, we'll see. The situation kind of plays out a little bit more. Now, Chelsea, rolling your eyes. Obviously she's making a plan, a ploy to obviously, get her claws into Paul, but is obviously manipulating everybody along her way. And, after Cara and Remy have actually sorted all their issues out, she's now trying to actually get between them again. And there's obviously clearly some sort of previous friction between her and Remy. Yeah, just, I don't know. Like, what are you thinking of that whole situation and her trying to get her claws into Paul and stuff?
I mean, it would be good to know if she's got a previous history with doing these kind of things. Because to me, it doesn't feel like it's a one-off. She's so money hungry. And yeah, her setting up that perfume business, although I think the perfume was probably dodgy. Because she seems dodgy.
Oh, she didn't pay Sadie.
Yeah, no, all of that. That was
it's just like, well,
so
she
bad.
doesn't even have the money to be able to pay Sadie because she's actually not making a profit from the perfume that she's selling. So,
but then I thought you can afford to give Paul some flowers. So I was like, that bunch looked really nice. So that's going to cost quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, Remy should feel, animosity against her. The fact that Cara actually had to bail her out.
Yeah.
That's kind of, out of order. She's just kind of waltzed in, expected to be put up in their house, causing all of this kind of, but it's not even like major chaos. You can tell there's like, like her going into Toadie's office and getting out the divorce file between Therese and Paul, because she basically wants to find out info to impress Paul. And it's
Yeah.
just, I'm not sure why you'd find it in a divorce.
No, she wants to obviously see. I think there was a query over. Someone said, "Oh, well, after all of the divorces that he's had, he probably doesn't have much money left." So she was looking at his
Yeah.
net worth to work out actually how much Paul is worth to see how much she would get
Well,
if
none
she.
of us really know. He's all up and down with that, isn't
So
he?
exactly, I know he seems to miraculously, whenever something goes wrong, he ends up to miraculously fall,
Mhm.
land on his
Mhm.
feet again and seem to have money again. And it's like, well, how did that happen so quickly? But of course, this is so planned, and Paul
Yeah.
always manages to make his way back to wherever he needs to be.
Yeah.
Uh, Talking of Paul, now obviously he's got this thing for against Krista. He doesn't like Krista, but he's said, "Oh, let bygones be bygones. Everything's going to be fine because I don't want to lose another son." Obviously, prior to David dying, and but he's got Sadie spying on both of them.
Mhm.
And I thought was really odd was that Sadie was just randomly in the pub in the waterhole with Abigail, like holding her, like just listening into their conversation. And it's like, well, surely they would see that she was there with Abigail. Like, how do they not know that she was there? And one moment makes me really laugh is that um obviously Sadie was giving her opinion to Paul at one point, but even before he said it, I knew what he was going to say. I knew he was going to say, I'm not paying you for your opinion. Literally, even
Mhm.
before he said it, I was like, he's going to, and
Mhm.
I'm just like, oh, he started to play his old mind games of like
Yeah.
laying people off against each
Yeah.
other, and, like manipulating people.
Classic Paul.
Um, yeah, classic Paul. Um, but at this point David is still obviously not talking to him, so he's got to be very careful that he's not gonna um push Leo away. But
Mhm.
this big thing that he has against Krista is obviously now, since David's died, is
Mhm.
playing right into his hands, because he can use you can use Krista, in this situation and be like, well, she's the reason that David's dead, etc. So um and basically pass the blame onto her.
So, just a question because I didn't
Yeah.
quite understand. So, there was a flashback between Eden and Paul.
Yes. Yes.
So, that was Paul telling Eden she's pregnant,
Basically,
basically to stir up because obviously he wants Krista and
yeah.
Leo to break
So
up.
yeah, so he gave Krista the information. Sorry, he gave Eden the information about Krista,
Yeah,
but I don't think he told her him where they were.
fine.
I do
Because I
think
was I was very kind of like, hold on a second though, but clearly that would have, even if he didn't tell him where they were,
no.
that would have prompted
Oh well, yeah,
that.
100%.
So,
I think that's where Paul's guilt is coming from over the whole situation.
mm,
That he knows that he was the one that told Eden this information, which
yeah.
has then obviously fueled Eden to then go and find Krista, and then obviously
But then he's unfairly deflecting that onto
oh,
Krista.
100, oh,
Now, I
100%.
agree that you should be mad at Krista because Eden wouldn't really be in your life, any of your lives, if it wasn't for her. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's more likely that you've wound him up and
Mm,
prompted it than actually Krista.
yeah.
Because why hasn't he popped up until now?
Well,
She's been dating Leo and, being all like romantic and lovey dovey. Surely if
yeah.
Eden's spying on them, he would have seen that and that would have wound him
No,
up.
but Eden was in prison.
Oh, yeah.
Eden was in prison and he'd been
But we
released.
don't know when he got out.
But Andrew, I think it was a couple of days before they went to the holiday, um, because Andrew mentioned that he'd phoned both Krista and Paul to tell them that Eden had been released from prison.
Okay.
They would give them a heads up, but Krista had her phone off the whole time she was away, so she didn't get the phone call, whereas
Yeah, I
Paul did.
miss a lot. I miss a lot.
Yeah. Whereas Paul did, and then that's when I think he then invited Eden round to have the chat with him, because
Mm,
he wanted to, like you say,
mm,
break up Esther and Leo. So there's a
mm.
lot of little like ins and outs and stuff.
Yeah.
So leading up to, obviously, we've started talking about obviously the holiday and stuff and what's happened. The start of it is obviously Sasha actually shows up into Erinsborough to obviously um to kind of talk to Nicolette, and obviously
Yeah.
actually realizes that there was a connection there, but obviously nothing can happen. But unfortunately, Veronica obviously sees them together, and obviously has a complete meltdown about it, and finds then the holiday information on the ground that
Hmm.
Nicolette's dropped. So then obviously, oh, Veronica's going to make her way to the holiday home. Um, before this all kicked off, I was under the assumption that, and the way the trailer played out, that Veronica was the one that had a
Yeah,
big part
me
in
too.
the accident. I thought it was to do with her,
Yeah.
and then it happened, and I was like, oh, she's just had a bit of a tiff with Nicolette, and then they've like made up, and then she's gone away again. It had nothing to do with her at all. So the trailer didn't actually like,
Yeah, and also I found that a little bit weird. I mean, I think it's good that Veronica's calmed down, but
yeah,
at the same time, I was like, but would she have, especially when Nicolette confided in her and said, well, I kind of did like him.
yeah,
Like, it wasn't all in your head. You weren't going crazy. That, if that were me, that would probably make me feel worse.
yeah,
She's already a jealous person, clearly, hence why she's gone really crazy. So surely knowing that information, she didn't go crazy because she knew something that they were lying about. It's the fact that she loves Sasha, and
yeah.
Sasha's likes Nicolette, and Nicolette likes Sasha. That's the jealousy, not
She
the
was
fact
just
that,
very,
oh, I knew it. No, it's not about that. So it really confused me why she died down.
I know
And
she
I'm
was very
thinking,
quick to just forgive, wasn't she?
yeah, I just don't
Nicolette just
understand it.
Nicolette went, well, no. She said, "Oh, did anything happen?" She's like, "Oh, no, 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 nothing happened." And it's like, "Oh, but that's okay then." But it's not, because you've just admitted to me that you liked my partner
But
and
she
something.
she was unhinged, like all of this stuff about, you know, the kidnapping, temporarily kidnapping, just all this really weird stuff breaking in, and but yet she's accepted this, and yeah, I'm not crazy anymore.
Yeah, it was a bit odd. It was,
Unless it unravels, and there's going to be more later. I don't know, but I just don't believe that she's just calmed down.
yeah, very,
It's
very
just
odd.
too quick to resolve that.
And maybe it was just a set up for the way that Nicolette was then not with the others in the bush. She needed to be away because of
Yeah,
Veronica
but I
being.
still, in that moment, I still would have expected more pushback
Yeah,
from Veronica.
yeah,
I wouldn't have, okay, maybe her craziness would have died down because now she knows the truth. But to just go, yeah, I mean, I guess the Christian background. That's how they met, through the church. So maybe forgiveness, maybe that's the reason why they've gone down that avenue. But I, you can forgive, but you can't forget.
yeah,
So as much as you can say I forgive you, that doesn't mean that now you're best friends, which is how they kind of made it seem.
yeah.
Very
Mm.
odd.
Yeah, very odd. So obviously before they go away, you see Paul and David kind of have this
Mm.
reconciliation. Paul's like, I have all this time been trying to make small steps with you. And obviously because there's been all of the gossip and stuff, and we kind of knew that David was be the one that wasn't coming back. It was kind of a bit of a sweet moment, because you're like, oh, like
We
you're
know.
yeah, we know you're not gonna,
Yeah.
actually fully make up. And the really sad moment was he was saying goodbye to Isla, thinking,
Mm.
oh my God, like he's never gonna see her again. Like we just knew that that was gonna happen, and yeah, he
Mm.
wouldn't come back. So obviously, yeah, they have the holiday, and all this stuff kicks off with Veronica, and there's that Sasha situation which we just discussed. Um, yeah, and then obviously it gets to the dramatic climax of obviously, um Eden obviously appearing out of the bush and finding Krista and Leo. Um, and I mean, I don't know, what were your initial thoughts in that moment? Because it was just a bit like
I
odd.
f- I feel like
Just him just appearing and being
but
like,
I
I know
feel
you're
like
carrying my baby. Like, what?
I mean, I feel like that whole section was just rushed through. I feel like when we've had these kind of situations before with crazy psycho characters, it's always kind of been like a drawn out thing. It's kind of like the whole episode has been, we've seen them at the beginning, there's some kind of, back and forth, and then we're by the end of the episode, obviously something happens. But it just felt like it took 5 minutes. That's how much time it took. And I just felt like David's been a character for quite some time, quite a well-loved character. We love him with Aaron. They've got kids and, all of that. But it's like you've just basically ended his life just like that. There
I
was
think,
nothing.
yeah, I think potentially because they wanted the emphasis to be on the next episode where they were going through the scenes of him actually dying, so they didn't emphasize
I
that
get,
the
I
cliff
get, I get
falling off the
that,
cliff.
but I don't know. I just felt like
It seemed to, I know what you mean. It seemed to be the
same
fight was
seems
very rushed.
scrappy.
Yeah, like it was just like, oh, Eden appears. Oh, he's gonna hit Leo with a rock. Oh, David's here. Oh, David's gone and attacked him. Oh, they've fallen off the cliff. Oh, end. It all happened in a very short space of time, and it was just kind of like, oh, like yeah, just yeah, I know what you mean.
But also, I kind of wanted it to be more premeditated as well.
Yeah,
I just feel like that's such a shoddy way for him to die. At least if you're going to kill off David, do it in a more pronounced way. Maybe that there's a scuffle, David gets involved, there's a bit of a fight scene, and then Eden picks up a rock and hits him over the head with it. It always seems to be this is how Neighbours, and we've had several. I mean, we did the drama episodes last time. It always seems to be, oh yeah, and they fell and got hit by a rock.
I mean, don't think we
Like,
don't know what killed David. It was something,
no,
Shan.
but
Yeah,
it's
I
that
know
kind
what you
of,
mean.
oh, but you're dead now, but it was an accident, or you fell over and this happened. uh, it just seems to be like, well, I want to see someone actually going to prison for something, but justified. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So basically, what you want is for someone to actually murder on screen.
Well, why didn't Eden do that? He could have knocked him out with a
True.
rock.
Yeah, but the whole, yeah,
I don't
okay,
know. It just
yeah.
seemed very scrappy.
Now, obviously, going on to the next episode, obviously, David and Eden are at the bottom of the cliff, and David has told Aaron and Leo to save Eden first because, um, I mean, even at that point, I was like, I know why he's telling them to
Yeah,
take Eden first. He's trying
yeah,
to make up for his previous
yeah,
mistakes for Gareth. I knew at
yeah,
that point before they'd even got to the other
yeah,
part.
yeah,
And David, even then, I was like, David knows he's not okay.
yeah,
Like, I was like, yeah. So, um, now people were talking and they were like, oh my God, this is the best acting, the most dramatic, upsetting episode. It was so good. Like, yes, it was good, but I'm really sorry. There are deaths out there that have been a lot worse than this one. Now, I didn't sob at this one.
yeah. I
The
didn't
two
cry
that
at all.
the only time I'll get to actually in a minute when I cried. The two that I've cried at was of course Sonia's.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I cried
100%.
at.
Even
And
now when you watch it.
yeah, and the second one I cried at was Hendrix.
Yeah, that was sad. That
The
was really
only
sad.
ones, yeah, this was sad. Now, obviously, but just not to the extreme that I think others.
But you know why those two are? Because with Sonia, we knew she was terminal for quite
Yeah,
some time.
yeah,
And even with Hendrix, it was a lot shorter, but
we knew he was
they
gonna die.
spent about 2 episodes. We knew he was not great with his lungs, so we knew that
Yeah,
was an issue. And then when he went into hospital, it was a bit touch and go. And then by the end of that episode, it was like, oh shit, he's died. So there's a bit more of us going, you know, we're already thinking, oh no, because we've been dealing with it. Whereas this is like just completely random.
mm,
We didn't have the time to build up that sadness because it just
yeah,
happened.
yeah. Um, But I have to say, obviously, when Aaron and Leo obviously come back and they find that David's passed away, now obviously Aaron lets out that like horrible scream, and that's obviously classic of anybody who's
Hmm.
just that painful, like the worst possible pain you could ever feel like in your entire life. Like I was like, oh God, that's like awful. I hated that moment. But the one thing that really got to me was the fact that they carried him through the woods,
That was, yeah,
and then
yeah,
Aaron cradling David's dead body in the back
yeah,
of the car.
yeah.
I was just like, yeah, nah, I wasn't crying, but I was like that is,
Yeah, that I had a sinking feeling when I saw that, especially them carrying and then they kind of slipped, didn't they?
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, for me, Matty, who's just done so well, like such a great performance. He needs to win awards for that, or at least be nominated, because I know Neighbours tends not to win all the awards. But definitely deserving of a win. That whole entire scene. And that moment, I thought he's going to be so angry with David.
Mm, I
And
don't, it's,
this was even before I knew
yeah,
of the voicemail and his kind
yeah.
of confession. Just the fact that he goes, "No, Eden, go first." He's going to be so. At the moment, he's like upset, worried, whatever, and then he will be really sad when he passes away. But then he's going to be so angry.
I
And
think
I was right.
he, in that moment where he's cradling in the back of the car, I just think he was just so like numb at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
Um, yeah, we obviously it moves on. Obviously, we know that they're traveling to hospital to take David to hospital, etc. And it obviously moves on to Jane having to be the one that breaks
that
the
was
news.
sad. Yeah,
Like, yeah, like that was really sad scene, and obviously Therese being like, well, where like I need to tell Paul, I need to find him,
yeah,
and
yeah.
finding him obviously in the hotel with Chelsea. I just like the look on Paul's face. He would just he didn't believe,
No, he was
like
stunned.
she was like David's died, and he was just like it's like one of those things where you're like, well, I just saw him like not that
Yeah.
long ago. What do you mean David's died? Yeah, and we've started to see obviously see we're going to talk about later the old Paul and Therese
Hmm.
at this particular moment. Um, the thing that broke me, this is the thing that made me cry, was when I was going to say Stefan and Paul went in. He said, "I want to see my boy now," and he went in,
Mm,
just broke down, saying, "I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry." And obviously, we know now why he's sorry because I
yeah,
think he feels that he's brought
yeah.
Eden back and he's the reason. And actually, um, when Aaron was in the room and Carl had to say to him, "You need to leave now," like Carl's face. I don't know what it is, something about the older generation being upset really gets to me. So
Hmm.
it was actually Paul and Carl that made me cry.
Hmm.
Um,
Because
yeah.
they're veterans, they know what to do, and we're very familiar with them, like they're our family. So it's like a family member being upset in front of you. Um, yeah.
And then obviously, there's obviously the voice note.
Hmm.
David obviously knowing that he was dying, and obviously that he's made the decision to save someone, and that has obviously led to Aaron being in a place where he's going through the however many stages of grief there are, and he's obviously at the very angry stage when he obviously hears about this. I mean, yeah, I don't know how I'd feel like hearing that voice
I
note.
mean,
No.
for me, I feel like I'm in Aaron's corner, because here's Eden, who's caused a whole bunch of trouble, right? And yes, I understand why David did it, because of Gareth. But I feel like it was a very selfish move on David's behalf to make that decision for himself when he's got an entire family to think about.
Yeah.
Eden, okay, yes, Chris is pregnant with his baby, but ultimately, up until this point, you know, when you kind of, it sounds really harsh, but when you judge the two lives, you're like, well, which one is worth more? Which, you know, and he's made the decision to go, well, actually, I chose to not save someone's life. I'm not doing the same thing again to help my guilt. But to be honest, your guilt isn't going to matter when you're dead.
Mm,
So, you know, and then you're transferring that on to your partner and
yeah.
also your kid when your kid grows up, that the reason why is because you didn't choose them. You
Mm,
chose some random guy that was causing trouble anyway. And I understand in the eyes of the law, I understand all of this. And at the end of the day, fine. You don't want to, he doesn't want to do the same thing again because it's basically what took his license away, right? He's not a doctor anymore because of that. But no, I mean, I think we're going to see Aaron like we've never seen him before. He's always been the upbeat, you know, of the two of them anyway. He's always been the pick me up, always. You know, he's always been a bit more comedic than David. And I
yeah.
just feel like, you know, we've had sunshine and rainbows with him, but we're going to get some dark, dark Aaron, which I guess is good for Matty because
Oh,
we're
good
probably
for
going to
his
see a lot of his
character
good,
development. Oh,
his
100%.
best work.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Like if I was in that position, I would 100% never have chosen somebody else over my own family. Um, it is a very selfish thing to have done, but I feel like potentially in that moment and probably leading up to that moment, having been reminded that he's lost his medical license due to the fact that obviously Remy had issues with him, a few weeks back. He probably David, I feel, probably didn't have much like self-worth. He didn't really think much of himself and didn't think he was going anywhere and he had any purpose in life. So potentially was in a much darker place than we, realized or whatever. So there's things that add to it. You're never going to know. And he's a character at the end of the day. But yeah, no, I 100% agree. So obviously we've got the massive fallout from this now. And obviously Therese is now being there for Paul. Um, Mel has obviously noticed that Toadie is in a mood. Obviously Toadie, Toadie's consoling Therese, but also he's obviously still very worried by Therese's involvement with Paul. And obviously we've now seen this escalate in the most recent episodes, with obviously Eden has escaped from
Mm-hmm.
hospital
Mm-hmm.
and has held Mel hostage. Um, I had to laugh. Somebody wrote on Twitter, they were um, like he's injured. Surely you could have taken him. He had a tiny little penknife or whatever. Yeah, like Eden's fallen down a cliff. He's really hurt. Like he's got a tiny
Mm-hmm.
penknife. Mel could have knocked him over and like
Mm-hmm.
escaped. But anyway, she's been held hostage, and obviously now you've got Toadie coming in to be the person to help, and this has caused a rift between Toadie and Therese. And the last episode we see Toadie obviously still not being okay with Therese being close to Paul, and they have big fight about it in the law office. But and then they both go, "Oh, but it's fine. We're
Yeah,
still in."
dangling the carrot, like, yes, Les, they're having a big argument, and then, oh no, we'll
But
forgive each other. This is what we're gonna do. We
let's
don't
be honest
we don't want to
here.
see healthy couple habits.
Let's be honest here. You guys are both as bad as each other,
Yeah.
and like,
To be fair though, I don't think so because Therese hasn't been a hypocrite necessarily, and I feel like Therese has more reason and is being more genuine in terms of being a friend to Paul
yeah,
than Toadie is with Mel because
no,
they've been having those therapy sessions and there's clearly a lot of emotion still there
yeah,
between the two of them unresolved. Whereas with Paul and Therese, Paul didn't run off, did he?
no,
Like they kind of sorted out and they had the divorce and they sorted everything out between them. So they care very much for each other, but I don't necessarily think that that's anything sordid. Like there's any other motive at the moment between Therese and Paul than being there for one another as friends. Whereas on the other hand, Toadie, we've always said Toadie will be the weak one. um, you know, oh, I'm really scared. I'm really scared. Oh, I'll just stay here oh no, and I'll stay here on the couch. Sorry, what? Like, no. How about you invite her over to your house? Because I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure Therese would prefer that and understand it a bit more if you weren't trying to hide it.
yeah. No,
You know, you
definitely.
have to put your foot down, and he's not strong enough to put his foot down. You know, he said, I choose you,
Yeah.
but
I
he's
mean, you
not.
could tell this by Carl's shock when he came home and saw Toadie on the sofa, being like, "What the hell are you doing here, Toadie? Like, what? Like, you need to step back and you need to stay away from Mel. This is not
Yeah,
healthy."
exactly. There's no way at the moment that they're both on the same par. And I'm completely on Theresa's side. She's doing everything right, but it doesn't seem to be, he still keeps being gravitating towards Mel.
But
But
I
then,
100% thought it was going to be the other way around. I thought she was going to be the one because we
n-
always loved Paul and Therese together. But yeah, it's been Toadie actually that's been the one that's yeah,
literally when he said, well, look at what you're doing with Paul, his son's died. And
yeah,
also I saw him as a son.
yeah,
So this, like, we can help each other with that. Like,
yeah.
I'm going to be there for him. And
Mm.
to be fair to you know, they both said actually they've got other people that can help them and support them. It's not we care for our exes, but we are not responsible to be that support anymore. So that, but whether they stick to it or not,
Or no, you can tell when Therese was looking at Chelsea, she was like, "You want to be Paul's support?" Like, okay,
mm,
like she knows
no.
what Chelsea's about, and she's trying to like worm her way in or whatever. I was I was gonna say, going back to what we said about the what's it called, the heist or the kidnapping of Mel, not kidnapping, what do you call it, hostage situation.
Yeah,
I
it's always
thought,
in the Kennedy household.
yeah, I thought it was just going to be a bit of more of a thing. Like, um,
I just honestly, like, I don't want to keep dissing my favorite show, but I just feel like the writers are treading too carefully. I feel like they then don't want to be bold, like it just felt like they were dancing around the kitchen.
yeah, I know. I was like, oh, cool. Oh, like there's a new drama. Oh, yes, Andrew's going to get a bit be involved. It's
Yeah,
going to be
no, and it's bloody
like
Toadie.
a big thing for Andrew. Like he'll get to go in there, and it'll be a big thing for him. We'll see
No,
him at the police station interviewing like loads of people. Yeah, let's come on develop Andrew's character, and then it's just like, oh no, Tony sneaked him, sprayed him in the face, tackled him, and then Andrew's told him off, and that's
but
it.
I guess that was just a situation to bring Mel and Toadie closer together, and
I
it's to
know,
get this ball
right?
rolling. And as much as I didn't really like any of those scenes, to be honest, um, it's doing what I want it to, and it's literally now really teasing us.
Yeah,
Like, we have been waiting for 6 months for this, for both couples to break up and get back with their exes.
yeah.
And we thought, you know,
But
half a year down the line, this would
I
have happened
don't
by now, at least with
even
one of them.
I don't even like Toadie and Mel together that much
No,
though.
but they're
That's
making you
the
want that
problem.
because Therese and Toadie are so wrong.
I just yeah.
So you're
I
like,
don't
okay, there's no
I don't
Sonia. Obviously, Sonia's number one for Toadie, of course.
I know.
But
Yeah. I
yeah,
don't know. Anyway, last thing is the last couple of episodes that we've seen, obviously you mentioned it before, Chelsea breaking into Toadie's and getting the contract or whatever. Like, yeah, not a good move. Like, complete idiot. She's, yeah, don't like Chelsea. And now they're planning the funeral for David. And obviously, Paul was, I don't think he's got into Aaron's head. I think Aaron maybe have come to this assumption by himself, but they both are now completely against Krista and are like, he ain't coming to the funeral, and Leo's obviously having to be like, so we're going to find out whether he agrees with them or not, and is going to keep Krista away because David was a big part of her life and her recovery, etc. But the blame's being put on her for it, and I'm just kind of a bit
I
like,
mean, I do feel sorry for her
yeah,
because I understand the reasons why they're upset and they're taking it out on her, their grief out on her and their anger out on her. But, she's also pregnant. Like, why are you causing so much stress to a pregnant lady? And it just feels like definitely with Paul, the motive is, well, actually, I'll also wind Leo and Krista up, so they'll break up. And it's
yeah,
just, I don't know. I don't know. Um, I
it
feel
is,
sorry for her.
yeah, it has been a drama heavy fueled emotion last two
Mm,
weeks, and I mean obviously we're now going into a third week, and we're going to obviously see David's funeral, and I
yeah.
mean we won't, I don't know if we'll see the actual funeral, but we've seen obviously there's wake scenes, so we've seen there's a thing at the waterhole for David, which is how everybody knew that David was one that died, because it was shown in spoilers a while ago that there was some kind of funeral, and I think people
Mm.
worked it out from that. So there's still some stuff to come, but yeah, we need to. Are we going to have some lighter moments again with some comedy? Like,
I mean, hopefully. I don't know. I think with the whole funeral thing, I'm like, who's going to actually turn up? Because, like, his mother should be there. But if his
yes.
mother isn't there, I'm like, this is a farce.
And I mean, Mark's not going to be there. Chloe's not going to be
Oh my
there.
God.
All of Aaron's
Yeah,
family
I
not going
know.
to be there, and it's like, I mean, we never know. April might make a surprise. She might have kept that one a secret, but I
Maybe.
doubt it.
Yeah.
Anyway, anyway. So now for the next segment. I mean, we don't want to be here all day, do we?
No. Just to point out that we were going to give our individual top 5 lists, but they ended up identical. So we're actually doing it together. I mean, it's like we're twins, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, there were so many like good couples that like we literally could have chosen from. And like I've literally told you, like the amount of times I changed my mind, like it literally was so difficult. But these are going to be our top 5 couples for Valentine's Day. So, Natasha, you go.
Right, so our first one at number 5, it's Paul and Therese.
It's the Paul and Therese. Oh God, like what can we say about Paul and Therese? Like, there's just so much, isn't there?
I mean, yeah, I just feel like, yeah, I mean, probably with some of these couples actually, um, they spent more time apart than they have done together.
Like, there
Yeah,
just as such is that, I don't know, it wasn't even sexual tension,
yeah, I know it was.
it
That's
was
what
the
it was.
what was the power moves that they used to play on each other
Yeah,
before
yeah,
they
yeah,
got together. They used to just be
yeah.
like, well, I'm better at this than you are, yeah, but I could do this, and
They
it's just,
hated each other. I mean, I just love a hate love storyline. I just love it. Your enemies, and then bit of sex comes into it, and then you fall in love that way.
yeah,
I'm a sucker for it.
yeah.
Absolute sucker for it. Um, and yeah, I feel like Therese has been the only woman to put him in his place, really.
How did they get together in the first place? Was it to do with, oh God,
Wasn't
he
it? Wasn't it when they separated, Therese and it was something they were kind of sleeping together. That's kind of.
wasn't he really unwell or something? He was unwell, pretend cancer. That's when he was with
Oh
Sheila's
yeah,
daughter.
her
And
brother.
Grace was getting really like jealous about how close they were getting and stuff. I can't even remember how they got together now. For them being on our 5 couple, like we're not very good at remembering things. The thing is, there's
I
been so
mean,
much
it's
over
just
the
so
last,
much, and I think we're just so preoccupied at the moment between the whole situation,
yeah.
that we're just gagging for them to get back together.
It just,
Um,
yeah.
we didn't believe it when Neighbours returned that Paul and Trace weren't together.
I
And
know.
at the wedding, oh, they're just renewing their vows or something.
Yeah.
And then it ended up being, well, no, they're not together. And we're like, what? Sorry, what?
So, so odd.
And now, yeah, we're still waiting. God.
It's got to happen, surely. Yeah,
I just,
they
yeah.
are they are the couple we like. I mean, especially Paul, love to hate, and just Therese just works. I think what it is she is as powerful as him at times, but she also knows how to put like Paul in his place
She
and
knows what
and not
buttons to
take
press.
any of his shit,
You know,
basically.
everyone seems to be quite weak, female wise, that gets involved with Paul seems to be quite weak. They're just very attracted by his money.
Yeah.
And with her, she doesn't give a shit about his
No,
money.
because she's got her own money. She's
No,
just
she doesn't need that. Um, and definitely when she was manager of Lassiter's, like, I don't need to tolerate your shit.
no,
Yeah.
no, yeah. So Paul and Therese are at number 5. So number 4, we've just been speaking about them in the first segment, is the lovely David and Aaron, or Aaron and David, whatever way you want to say it. What was their name?
Darren.
Darren. Darren. They were Aaron and David. Were they Brennan Tanaka or Tanaka Brennan? Anyway, I don't know what they were. But David and Aaron. Yeah, now Aaron's obviously just lost his husband recently. Very, very sad. But obviously, whilst David was alive, um, yeah, that was obviously interesting way that they obviously got together, because David was still very much in the closet, and
Hmm.
obviously Aaron was the one that brought him out of the closet, I suppose, and
Yeah.
helped him to realize that actually, no, he wanted to be with men and have a relationship and do everything, get married, have babies, etc. There has been a big what's the word I'm looking for? Journey
Mm.
for these two, I would say. And it's probably, yeah, one of those relationships that is obviously very much favoured by a lot of people, because it's the first same-sex wedding
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Australian TV since it was obviously
Yeah.
legalised. So there's a lot of what should you say, not history, but a lot of the word I'm looking for. A lot of, because I can't think. Help me out, Natasha.
I have
I'm
no idea. I'm dead as well.
actually stuck for words. Like, like talking about like current affairs and things that are really important at the moment with like same-sex couples and LGBTQI and all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and Neighbours do that like obviously very, very
Very
well.
well.
So they've got Mackenzie and stuff. Yeah, why were they your number 4?
Um, I think for me, at times, they were even more exemplary than Carl and Susan.
Yeah,
I felt like they were probably even sometimes more than Tony and Sonia. I felt they were really steadfast and very solid as a couple, and it actually had nothing to do with their sexuality.
mm,
Um, it it just felt like they were, you know, two complete opposites, but they just complemented each other so well,
mm.
you know. And I feel like for me, out of the two of them, Aaron's my favorite out of the two of them. And to be honest, I feel like Aaron completely, even though he wasn't the doctor, you know, with the really impressive job, Aaron really kind of turned David's world upside down, not just with coming out,
Yeah.
but just being his light, his ray of light, his light relief.
I think
And
Aaron was just his true authentic self,
yeah, yeah.
and that encouraged David to be.
But Aaron has been an incredible support for David. Sometimes it was David getting all of the storylines, but it was
Yeah,
always Aaron there to support him.
yeah.
Always.
And I think people miss that because, like we've said before in previous, his character's very, very good at being the comedic
Yeah.
character, but actually, like he is very strong and is there for people,
Mm-hmm.
when you need him. They went through the whole fostering
Mm-hmm.
situation,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a couple of questions that I think were about their past and stuff that were very sort of like, you know, that nitty gritty, and Aaron was
Mm-hmm.
actually like, no, I'm going to stand up for what I believe
Yeah.
in. How dare you ask
Mm-hmm.
these kind of questions? And he always, like, yeah, fought for what he believed in. And like we've said in the first segment, I think now David's gone, we're going to see a side to Aaron that's very much different to what
Yeah.
he's been known to be. He's
Yeah.
always been the strong one, and I think he's going to yeah, his character's going to change. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like people have been saying, there is no Aaron without David, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting.
I think it's going to be very dark. Yeah.
Could say the same though about the next couple. If there's no Aaron without David, then at number 3, so Natasha.
Yeah. So at number 3, we've got Toadie and Sonia.
Yeah. So
I think with these two, completely destined to be with each other. But I think they had more downs than they had ups.
there was
And that's not even speaking about how she died.
there was just so much, wasn't there? I mean, you've got the the would you say affair, because he thought it was D but it wasn't D. So
Well, it's still an affair.
yeah, so the Andrea situation, and obviously he ends up, fathering another child with another woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you've got Sonia being poisoned by Andrea's mother, and thinking that she was having a relapse, and you got all that going on. You've got Sonia, um, drug and alcohol addiction comes into play, and there's just a lot of shit
Yeah.
that they
A
had to
lot
go
of
through,
shit.
especially in the last, few years that they
Mhm.
were together. But they always found their way back to each other.
Yeah.
And that's what I
Sure.
loved about Tony and Sonia. And I just think no one will ever be as good
I
as
think
Sonia.
I think it's also the chemistry.
Well,
Um,
that's going back to David and Aaron, like the people,
yeah.
Takaya and Matty, like the role that they play for David and Aaron, and their chemistry as two straight men to play that role, like,
Amazing.
it's incredible.
Amazing.
Like, you can't beat, and it's the same for, like you said, for Toadie
Yeah.
and Sonia, and obviously Ryan and Eve's chemistry together,
Mhm.
working together,
Mhm.
just yeah, just something about them. If we're talking about chemistry, we're talking about actors playing couples. I would put David and Aaron, Tony and Sonia at the top, but in
Mhm.
terms of obviously coupling,
Mhm.
they're at number 3, because we've got obviously others that are higher up for different reasons. But yeah, I was just devastated when Sonia died, because yeah, I love Toadie and Sonia together. That's
Mhm.
all I can really say on it.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Um, yeah, so and there's a bit of an umming and ahhing about the next 2 positions. Who was going to go next. Now we've actually decided at number 2 that we're going to put Carl and Susan.
Mhm.
Um,
Which is a shock considering they're like soap mum and dad, but
but I'm gonna let you take the lead on this, because obviously, as much as I love them, I think you've got a real strong connection to them. So I'll let you be the one to kind of
yeah, I mean the thing is, I almost didn't I had them at number 1, but then I took that away and gave them number 2 spot because I'm like, but the way that Carl cheated on, and I can never get over it. I don't think any of us can get over it. The way
it's still
Carl,
mentioned now, though. People
yeah,
still
it
talk
still
about
gets
it.
mentioned. Carl cheated on Susan with Sarah. Like, it was just a kiss. Like, yeah, no. And even if it's just a kiss, that's still a bit of infidelity, mate. Like, no. And they've been through so many divorces. I mean, honestly, like, there's one thing having like like Paul has probably had the most divorces, but to this to the same person is crazy.
Mm.
Um, but again, it just proves that they are always drawn back to it, a bit like with Toadie and Sonia. You know, whatever happens, they always make it back to each other. That they are home for each other, and I
Yeah.
think that's why that's so high, because also they've been in it since the late 90s, and for us, seeing them together is also home. So it's that kind of sweet. Um, that's why I couldn't not give them a position. Like they had to have a position. Um, yeah, and I mean, out of the two of them, if we're gonna pick like I did with David and Aaron, I love both of them, but Susan's gonna tip it because I don't think that she's actually committed anything like any kind of infidelity really. Um, Carl was a little bit of a
No,
naughty boy.
no. And it's funny because even when she then remarried after they divorced that time, God, I can't even remember what his name was, but
Yeah,
it was Zach and
yeah, yeah,
Rachel's,
yeah,
wasn't it? The
yeah,
Zelinsky?
yeah.
Is that who it was?
Um, um,
Something like that. Anyway,
yes,
Zelinsky, I don't know, anything, something like that. I,
Kaczynski.
because I don't
Are we
know,
just making it up now?
probably. Um, God, that's tickled me. Um, even when she was with him, I never was invested in that because I was like, "Nah, she needs to be with Carl."
Yeah, but you don't take it seriously, do you? Like a lot with a lot of these couples, if they went off, which is why we don't with Toadie and Mel, Toadie and Therese, and Paul, like they're. I mean, not so much with Toadie and Mel, but definitely with Paul and Therese. It's like we're not taking Therese and Toadie seriously
No,
because sorry, no, they're the star couple. What are you doing? And we're
yeah,
just biding our time at the moment until that actually does happen. And we're like,
yeah.
yay. But that's how we feel about Carl and Susan. Like, they could like have a really, really bad, like it's not even a midlife crisis because they're a bit too old for that, but they could have a serious situation where they literally go off and do what
I
um
mean, things that could
but
have gone
we won't
very
take it
wrong.
seriously.
Things that could have gone very long, like when we first came back, and obviously Susan was not happy with Carl because he'd lost basically their life savings investing in that, you know, business or whatever. Um, I mean, as per usual, he redeemed himself and they've come back stronger. I mean, they're currently not together because Susan's off in
I
Sydney
mean, yeah, and then he's off
and
at
he's
the
off doing his
times.
own thing, like pottering in the garden, and is he actually working at the hospital, that kind of stuff. Well, he clearly is working at the hospital because we saw him
Well,
there
now
with
we've seen it after we said it last
the
time.
it's so funny, we say stuff and then we're like, oh,
Oh,
Carl's
there
now
we
at
go.
the hospital. But they couldn't, I'm really sorry, but they couldn't, when David died, they couldn't have had any other doctor be the
No,
doctor.
100%. 100.
um
Yeah.
so anyway, that's not what we're talking about. Right, so number one, Natasha.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. I miss the fact that I've just said that means this definitely has to be
I
number one.
To be fair though, I think people already know before you're gonna
Oh
say
my
this.
God. If you don't already know anything about me. And last but not least, oh my God, super favorite, super personal favorite of ours, both of ours. It's Mark Brennan and Paige. Now, to a lot of people, they'll probably think, what? That's your number one? Like, out of all of the ones you've just mentioned, that's your number one couple?
Yeah.
Hell fucking yeah.
People would want it to be Toadie and Sonia. 100% would want it to be Toadie and
Oh,
Sonia. But
no.
like, no. Like, really sorry, guys, but Mark Brennan, like, and it's not even because we think he's like the fucking fittest
I
policeman, like,
mean, yes, it is, but no, but she's fit too.
right. So Natasha has a girl crush on, like, Olympia Valance. Like, fair play, mate. So, like, she is hot. But Mark Brennan
Yeah,
and
no.
Paige, like, oh, the sexual chemistry
Oh my
between
God.
these two from the get-go, when they were arguing, I
That
just
kiss, I watch that kiss all the
oh,
time.
and saying this, we watched an interview, you and I. You're not supposed to use tongues Paige was fucking using her tongue on that kiss.
Terrible.
Actors, yeah, being naughty, not using their tongues.
Oh my
Sorry, but
God.
they were using their tongues on that
Yeah,
kiss.
no, that was a really good kiss.
Um,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, we were probably thinking, oh, like, wish we were her right now, but
To be honest, no, I remember watching that because I loved her from the beginning. Like literally, she was just absolutely gorgeous. She's also very fiery and very kind of passionate. Um, she's definitely not a weak. She's very strong.
yeah,
So yeah, like as a female character, I thought, yes, this is someone this is a good example. And then she's gonna get with my soap husband. I'm like, yeah, I want to see that. Um, and yeah, no, like, we know we've seen Mark with several people. I'm not going to mention her name in particular. But I'm sorry, but Paige, is the only one that's
I
good
mean,
enough for him.
we
That's
need
it.
we need to talk about how we got to the point of them actually finally ending up getting together, marrying and having a child. Now, this was so hard for me because I was going to actually put them down as one of my favorite couples. Obviously, Paige gets with Jack. Now, her and Jack together,
I mean, that's
like,
also really hot.
yeah, like a priest who's not meant to be like, doing those kind of things. They
Oh,
obviously have a
what a
child together.
storyline. Jesus.
She thinks that she wants to be with Mark, God, I'm saying Mark because I'm so obsessed with him.
Jack.
Wants to be with Jack. Obviously she's left. Mark's ended up being with somebody that we don't like, and ultimately, at the end of it, they, you know, Jack realizes no, he actually does want to, be back in the church and be a priest again, and it comes full circle, and they, on a whim, actually, because it was
Yeah,
the weddings, wasn't it?
yeah,
We're like, fuck it. Actually, no. Mark goes, I should never have let you go. You are the one for me.
hmm
What the hell was I thinking? And
yeah.
they get married, and he gets married in a very, very nice kilt
Yeah, I
mustache.
think I think the thing is the two of them were very stubborn as
Yeah,
well, and they
yeah,
weren't the best at communication. So for ages, they probably were like, "I would love to get back with you, but I'm not gonna." Very proud. I'm not gonna be vulnerable with you. And actually, a lot of failed relationships and a lot of time wouldn't have been wasted.
well, yeah, but it comes down to timing at the end of the day, doesn't it? Like their
Yeah,
timing probably wasn't right then, but
yeah.
then obviously it now very
To be
is.
to be fair though, there is a huge age gap.
Yeah,
And when she was what, like 21, I
yeah,
think? So, like, the character was 21,
yeah.
when Paige joined. Um, yeah, I mean, and he was what, in his, like, early 30s, I think? He was definitely something
Yeah,
like 30. There was quite
yeah,
an age gap,
yeah,
and
yeah,
at that young age, I mean, I think that was one of the reasons why they broke up.
yeah,
She was a bit on the immature side, and I
yeah.
think her having Gabe and trying to make a go of her and Jack, um yeah, she just matured.
It,
And
yeah. She grew up. Mark got to a place away from Erinsborough that he needed to do,
hmm
and like, yeah, they finally both just got their act together and
yeah, when you know, right?
married and had another baby called Freddie,
I
I
mean,
want to say.
this is the couple that I want to come back, even if it's just for a few episodes. I just want to see them together and see what their life is like.
Yeah.
um
Well, they could come
I,
back
I I
now.
follow them both on social media, Olympia
Yeah.
and Scott, so I know what they're up to. Um, but it would just be nice just to have a little touch, or even it doesn't even have. We don't. I would love to see them, but talk about them,
Yeah.
just to have a little mention to say, oh yeah, Paige and Mark.
Yeah, they
You
might
know?
mention it at the funeral. You never know. Aaron might say, "Oh, Mark and Paige can't make it," or whatever, and it's just kind of like, "Oh, they're still
Yeah,
together."
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're just, yeah. So They are our top. Agree with us, disagree with us, we don't care. Mark and Paige forever. And if you make if you went, oh, hello. That appeared on the screen.
Didn't happen on mine.
Oh my god, that was crazy. Anyway, if you pop down to the what was it, the Neighbours experience in London, you will have seen that Natasha and I have graffitied all of the backstage area with Mark and Paige forever.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Ooh.
but like we were only born, what, me in 87, you in 88. So
Mhm.
like, really sorry, but Scott and Charlene just were not gonna make our top 5. Like, you know, I mean, neither of us, you know, Mike and Jane, you know,
I
but
mean, where is Mike?
I know, right? I mean, I think the OGs are probably going to be screaming at us, right?
Yeah.
Really, really, really sorry,
Mm.
guys. Sorry.
Well, regardless, I think it was pretty lovely reminiscing about our favourite couples, especially after the drama that we've had
Yeah,
in the last few episodes. Yeah, I think each of them are inspiring in their own way, which is why they're our top 5.
yeah,
And Carl and Susan, they've been really put through the ringer by the fates.
yeah.
I'm just glad that their relationship is very much calm waters at the moment. They deserve it.
I mean, but for how long? I mean, it is really sad about David and Aaron. I know, obviously, and we felt this way, like we've said about Toadie and Sonia. Like, we are never gonna forget, you know, about Sonia. But I think like over time it probably comes a little less raw. I mean, Toadie deserves to be happy.
Yeah, he does. I mean, it's why he has to get back with Mel, right?
I mean, the saga continues, doesn't it? I mean, let's hope we see some kind of like development on this soon. Anyway, speaking of Toadie, actually, we have just bought front row tickets to see him, haven't we? I
Yes.
mean, did you want to say a little bit more about it?
Yeah. So we always love to tell you about latest events. So it was announced this week that Ryan Maloney will be coming back to the UK to see us fans in September 2024. Thanks to Live in Convo. Honestly, so much thank you for that. Tickets went on sale this week at a number of venues across the UK. VIP tickets are also available, which includes a meet and greet with the man himself. Be sure to snap up those tickets before they sell out, though. You can visit mapletreeentertainment.com for more info on the Toad on the Road tour.
I love the name of that. The show is going to be so good. Like, he is so hilarious.
Honestly, can't wait to meet my soap cousin again. Honestly.
I need to start having like names for like different people who my cousin and
I'm
mother.
just a bit over familiar. That's the problem.
Anyway, yeah, so in other news, we are actually still waiting on Screen Star Events to reschedule the Lucinda Cowden event. And obviously we will obviously let you guys know like any dates and stuff when we hear about it.
Yeah. And I also found out that if you are a fan of Wentworth Prison, there's a Wentworth Prison convention happening on the weekend of the 2nd of March in Melbourne. And you could meet Jane Hall, who played Paul's wife, Rebecca Napier, in Neighbours. So if this sounds up your street, then for more info, please go to wentworthprisoncon.com.
Awesome. I mean, it is really good, like that all of these like events are happening now. We mentioned it when we went to the tour, the celebration tour. We mentioned it, didn't we? Say we need more conventions and things like that and stuff. You know, I just hope the event organizers, you know, keep these things going and they keep like coming because they're so good.
Definitely. We're very lucky. So thank you everyone for joining us. And that's it. See you next time.
Bye.